So I'm going to bring on Marie Forleo right now, and I'm going to read off her stuff. I printed out some stuff about her. I mean, I just know Marie personally, and she's an author and a great person. She's very, very fun. She is, you know, she's inspirational for sure. And there's a lot of women that follow and love her because of all the things that she does. And she, here you go. All right, so check it out. All right. Created a socially conscious digital empire that reaches millions of people, created an award-winning show, Marie TV, world-class online training programs, and wrote the New York Times #1, I only got to #2, bestseller, Everything is Figureoutable. Tried going to the corporate route, but found herself feeling really unsatisfied and like her passions were not, and felt like her passions were not being addressed. So she started bartending, waiting tables, and other odd jobs while she built her coaching business. Believes that you have to bring the whole self to the table, and she's done this herself throughout her roles on the floor, the New York Stock Exchange, at Condé Nast Publishing, choreography at hip hop and MTV, and being one of the world's first Nike elite dance athletes. Currently uses her content and online training program to help her community build their dreams and lives and their business. She's been doing content creation on a lot of these other platforms way before people were thinking about it. She's a breath of fresh air. And I'm going to bring her on right now so I can get educated and inspired. There she goes right there. And she was also in one of my books and a lot of good stuff. Hi.
Hi, Daymond. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to see you. How you been?
I've been good. Are you upstate somewhere, or are you in California?
I'm actually in Long Island. I'm near the beach. Yes.
You're near the beach. Excellent. Excellent. Look at that hair. The hair is so long. Is it long?
It's long. This is like one of my superpowers. I just have to thank my Italian ancestry. I can't really take that much credit for it. It's just been passed down from the genes.
Well, good for you. It's really good seeing you. What was I going to ask you? I don't think I knew you were a waitress.
Oh man. Bartending, waiting tables, that is how I put myself through college. And then once I kept hitting walls in the corporate world, like being on Wall Street, quitting that, you know, being a Condé Nast, trying my best, but quitting that, I went back to bartending and waiting tables while I tried to figure out how to build a digital business way back in the year 2000. So It was like pre-social, pre-digital everything. I was like one of the first people to start an email newsletter. People were like, what's that? And so, yeah, I've been doing that for like 20 years.
I got a problem, though, that I've been, you know, with all of the stuck at home. I did a post today about overanalyzing things. I've been I don't know if it's called overanalyzing or pet peeve, but I got a question I got to ask you.
Yeah.
You know, I was a waiter. You were a waitress. Why don't some waiters write it down? Why don't they write down the order? I don't understand. I have a big problem with this. I mean, it creates a whole hour of frustration because they're grown people, so you can't say, hey, come here. Didn't I say to write that down? Because they may spit in your food. If the food comes out wrong, then you're the ass at the table telling everybody, no, I'm telling you, I asked for blue cheese. I mean, what's the problem? Why can't they just write it down?
I'll tell you, my assessment, it's ego. It's ego. And do you ever experience this? Like you see them listening to you and you're saying to yourself, like, where's your pad? Where's your pen? Why not? And you're like,
so
you get nervous.
I always get nervous. You know
ego.
what? And I'm sitting there going, you got to remember the daily special. You got to remember the kid over there with the snotty nose. You need to buy a rag for the kid. You got to remember what you're doing at home because, of course, you got to cut your toenails when you get home. Like, how do you remember all this? Like, why? I just don't understand. I'm so mad. And that's called overanalyzing it. I'm staying up at night. I dreamt about it all night last night.
I'll tell you, I think maybe what we can do is you say, hey, look, I know you've got this incredible mega memory, but what's going to make me feel real good and give you the best possibility of a very large tip is write your shit down. Write my shit down. So I get my right and I don't have to worry about it. And then you get a big tip when I leave.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to figure it out because I don't want to, because of course, if I say something, I'm the potential celebrity the end of the day, or the angry black man, if I'm like, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. So
you know what? You can use, here's what we can do too. I just discovered this. I did a bunch of these health tests way back at the top of the year, right before COVID hit. And I discovered, as an Italian girl, I cannot even believe this, I developed a gluten insensitivity. Never had this in my life. I eat so much bread, so much pasta, I love it all. And then now that I have a gluten insensitivity, I'm not celiac or anything, but you can just roll in and say, look, I need you to write this down. It's really important. Again, I love you. I'm sure you're great at what you do, but write this down. It's going to make me feel good, and it's going to get you a bigger tip. And then I think we sidestep all the with angry black man, celebrity, all that stuff.
All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about everything that's Figureoutable. I didn't get to the book yet. I know that you were packing arenas, right before COVID hit, right? It was probably like right before COVID hit. Like, you were really doing really well with it. People coming out like in droves, and I love that, and I'm really proud when I see you doing that. But tell me about it, and I'm sorry you probably said this story a million times, but please tell me about it, because everybody needs to figure it out right now.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you where this great little phrase, this great little philosophy came from. So I grew up in New Jersey, and my mom, she's this interesting character. So she's about 5'3". She looks like June Cleaver. She's got the tenacity of a bulldog, and she curses like a truck driver. So my mom grew up the daughter of 2 alcoholic parents in the projects of Newark, New Jersey, and she really learned by necessity how to stretch a dollar bill around the block. I think your mom was like that too. Yeah. She knew, right? For sure. How to make that money last. So when I was growing up in New Jersey, one of my fondest memories with my mom was sitting around the kitchen table on Sundays, and she liked to teach me all the different ways that our family could save money. So we're like clipping out coupons, and she also taught me about the fact that brands would send you these cool free things, those premiums, if you saved up your proofs of purchase. Do you remember that? They were on like the back of milk cartons and all that stuff. So one of my mom's most prized possessions was this tiny little transistor radio. It was shaped like an orange. It had a red and white straw sticking out of the top, and it was from Tropicana orange juice, and she got it for free. And my mom's one of those humans who is just always around the house doing something. And as a little girl, I remember the way to find my mom somewhere in the house or somewhere around the yard was to listen for the sound of this little tinny AM FM radio. She used to love to blast her tunes through that. Mm-hmm. So one day, Daymond, I'm coming home from school and I'm walking down the block and I hear her radio from the distance, and I get closer. And it turns out my mom's on the roof of our 2-story house, like perched precariously with a little orange sitting next to her bum. And I was like, Mom, what are you doing up there? Are you okay? And my mom yells down, she's like, Ree, I'm fine. I was like, what's going on? She said, the roof had a leak. I called the roofer. He said it was gonna be at least $500. I said, screw that, I'm doing it myself. That's my mom. Gangster. Another day, I come home from school and I hear this little radio, and this time it's from the back of the house. So Daymond, I'm walking back in the house. And I notice my mom's in the bathroom, right? And I push open the bathroom door, and it looks like a bomb went off. There's dust particles, there's pipes sticking out of the wall, and my mom's sitting in the middle with all this shit around her. And I was like, Mom, are you okay? What happened? And she's like, Ree, I'm fine. She's like, the tiles, they had some cracks in it. I didn't want the whole bathroom to get moldy, so I'm retiling the bathroom. Now, Daymond, you got to get, this is the 80s, right? This is pre-internet, pre-YouTube. My mom is high school educated. So I didn't know what was going on. One day, it was a fall. It was actually a little bit later than September. And it was dark, and I was coming home from school. And as I approached my house, something was different. Everything was black, right? There was no lights, there was no sound. And in an Italian-American home, that spells trouble. So I'm nervous. I go inside, I hear nothing. I'm like, where is my mom? Where is her little radio? So I'm like tiptoeing around the house, and I have that knot in my stomach, afraid of what I might find. All of a sudden, I hear my mom in the kitchen. I hear these little clicks and clacks. And I walk into the kitchen, and she's hunched over the table, which looked like an operating room. There was screwdrivers, electrical tape, and in about a dozen little pieces was a completely dismantled Tropicana orange radio. And I was like, Mom, what happened? That's your favorite thing in the world. Is it broke? And she's like, oh, Ree, it's fine. The antenna was a little off. The dial wasn't working, so I'm fixing it. And I stood there, Daymond, watching her work her magic. And I finally asked the question I should have always asked, which was this. I was like, hey, Mom, how do you know how to do so many different things that you've never done before, but nobody's showing you how to do it? And she puts down her screwdriver and she cocks her head to the side and she says, Ree, what are you talking about? This is no big deal. Nothing in life is that complicated. If you roll up your sleeves, you get in there and you do it. Everything is figureoutable. And Daymond, in that moment, I was like, everything is figure out. Holy shit, yes, everything is figureoutable. And from that moment on, that has been the driving philosophy of my entire life. It is this little belief system that has ballooned into me, feeling that no matter what comes my way, and you know, life brings all of us to our knees, and there are so many challenges that we don't expect and so many things that happen. There's this deep-rooted faith I have that I can figure it out. I may not do it fast, and it may not be cute, and it may not be a straight line, but I am never going to give up, and I have something in here and in here that can help me move forward and figure it out.
You know, first of all, that's an incredible story. I remember my mother, same thing. Everything, you know, she would all, when Dad had gone, you know, everything needed to be done in the house. She said, well, I don't have any money and I ain't trying to sleep with these guys to get it done. So I'm going to have to do it myself. She'd bring out a chest and we'd always try to hang something in the wall or whatever, but she would always be like, I got to find the beam. You know, you got to find the beam in the wall. So by the time, anyway, you came over our house, there was 40 holes, you know what I mean? Because we never were able to find the beam. But, you know, when people listen to you and me and all of our buddies and everybody else, you know, they would hear that story. And if they only heard it from one person, you, then they'd be like, But then they're going to hear me say a different story that's very similar to say, my mother, when I looked around everything, she said, Daymond, everything in this world that was created started with one person, with one idea that took one action. You can do it. Like, why can't you do it? But then they'll look at you and you're an example of it. You know, in a male-dominated content world of inspiration and various other things, I mean, you know, I see you often with the Gary V's, the Tim Ferrisses, the Grant Cardones, the Tony Robbins, all the people that, the Jay Abrahams, the people that I see, and Seth Godin's, and that have inspired me. But you're the one that stands out in all of them that weren't related to, yes, there's inspirational women in beauty, there's inspirational medicine, there's many inspirational women in every field. Yep. But how were you able, especially to start off, dealing and selling curriculums and education when you didn't have, I'm lucky enough, listen, I'm on ABC every day. Yes. I'm on CNBC every day. Okay, maybe the guy knows what he's talking about, but even if he doesn't, I'll check him first before I check somebody that I don't necessarily know. Yep. How did you do that in a really male-driven world? And I think at that time, the only people were really trying to listen to business-wise, maybe Oprah, yep, and maybe a couple other people. Like, how did you do that? And how can people learn from you to do it themselves in whatever way they want to do it?
Absolutely. So I think for me, you know, I love learning from all people. And I recognized early on, I didn't really see many people like myself, you know, in that world of inspiration and content and business. One of the mistakes I made early on that I think can be instructive for people is I was trying to be someone else. Here's what I mean. I was trying to be this ultra buttoned up professional idea of a businesswoman that I maybe formulated when I was 8 years old, you know, and that image was like big shoulder pads, and you're going to have this corner office, and you have to speak in a particular way, and you have to have an MBA, and all of these things that prove for me inside that I was worthy of sharing information. And when I tried to speak into that hyper professional image of a businesswoman that I had, Daymond, I failed. My voice wasn't there. I didn't get any traction. I was so insecure on so many levels, and I was so stunted because I wasn't being true to myself. The moment that I admitted, and this is a kind of circular answer to get where we're going, but I'll get there fast, that I was what I call a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I had always been passionate about health and fitness. I loved music and dance. I loved hip hop. And when I was trying to just be this narrow version of a professional, like, coaching woman, I fell flat on my face. The moment I said, hey, I love fitness, I love dance, I love spirituality, I love music, I love business, I love finance, I love marketing, and just started to allow myself to speak in that Jersey tone, which is not perfect. I definitely make mistakes. It's a little saucy and spicy. And then I actually started telling people about my simul career in dance and fitness, and that I was a Nike athlete. Like, everything, Daymond, started to come together. And I think people started to resonate even more with my content because they could feel the realness. I stopped trying to be something. I stopped trying to be like the female version of whomever, whether it was a Deepak Chopra or, you know what I mean, a Tony or whatever that was, and was just true to myself. And I find that in a world with 7.5 billion people, almost 8 billion people, there are more than enough folks that need to hear what you have to say from your unique perspective. And that's true across every industry of business, right? How many different styles of Italian restaurants are there? How many different styles of any kind of restaurant or clothing or tech? You know, there is more than enough in this world for everyone. And I mean that on a spiritual level and also on a practical level. Yeah, competition's real, all that stuff. But if you go full force with who you are, what you believe in, and what you stand for as a human, that's what I think really worked for me. And then the other side of it is I'm a relentless mother humper. I do not give up. There's this Jersey bit in me that, you know, for the first, 7 years of my business, Daymond, I was still waiting tables. I was still bartending. So I didn't like have overnight success. I'm an overtime
What was the
success.
motivation the first couple of years? What was the motivation you were giving people? Because if you were waiting tables and bartending, some people could say, well, it doesn't look like, and nothing wrong with that, because I waited tables and I think you can make a career out of anything, right?
So
some people say, why should I listen to you? Yes.
I was totally transparent. I was transparent about the fact that here's where I was in terms of my coach training, in terms of my experience. And my focus wasn't on, look at me, look at how much I've achieved. I put my total focus on supporting that human, listening to what their dreams were, understanding what their goals were, and then providing the most value I could. But I wasn't like, hey, look at me, I'm so great. I'm like, let me put all of my attention on you, your success, your goals, and being the best resource
so I'm
I possibly
gonna hire
can.
okay, so maybe I'm a person at that time, I don't have the right people in my life that I feel, I don't have supportive people in my life, so I need to hire a hype man, hype woman, but this hype man and hype woman not only supposed to sit to bring out the beautiful things that I'm doing or whatever the case is, they're all supposed to check me and also say, hey, here's what you're doing wrong. Is that what it is? Because you're not supposed to be like, go, go, go.
Yeah, no, I would just ask insightful questions. Like, that's part of what I did in the early part of my career, was just about asking people the tough questions that they may not be asking themselves, right? So is this job, when they were telling me about a little bit of a career thing that was happening, is challenging them and not necessarily criticizing them, but holding space so that they could get real with themselves and then creating action plans together for how they wanted to move ahead. So my belief always as a coach wasn't that I'm the smartest person in the room. Oh, hell no. I believe you are your wisest teacher. I'm just here to help you make those decisions, set those game plans, right? Provide resources. And then, of course, after 20 years, now I've got a lot more experience and there's more things that I know how to do. But in the beginning, I trusted my skill set that I was learning, and I was very transparent.
So let's talk about people right now who need to be motivational coaches for their husband, for their wife, for their sister, brother, and their family members, who need to learn from you, who may not want to be the big person on stage or with the big books, but they need to have some kind of skill set right now because their family needs them, and everybody needs to get together right now during this crazy time. What are the keys for them to be able to be that Marie Forleo in the house with their husband or wife?
Couple things. Here's one of my beliefs, especially, you know, no one wants to be criticized, right? The more you can build people up for what they're doing right, catch them for what they're doing right, and acknowledge them for what is going well and what they're focusing on that's working, man, that's how you build up someone so that they can keep building on that momentum. The other thing is you want to live by example. Like, don't wake up first thing in the morning and look at your damn phone or turn on the news and just drown yourself in negativity and all the in the world that's going wrong. Get up, get your family started on some kind of, whether it's a little bit of yoga, a little bit of walking, a little bit of running, some kind of exercise, so you set yourselves up to have the mental and emotional and physical strength to tackle the day. And again, if you're the person at home and you want to support your wife, let's say, someone listening right now, you have a wife, and I'll say this, and this is my own belief, you don't have to agree with this, but feminine energy, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. So if you can help her feel seen, you can help her feel understood, you could help her feel safe, that woman is going to fly. Let's talk about the flip side. Someone who has masculine energy, and this doesn't matter for gender, right? You can go all the different ways. We all have both in us. But masculine energy, they want to feel free. They don't want to feel criticized, right?
No doubt.
Criticize a man, you take him down. You build up a man,
right.
Right? I'm telling you. So exactly. So again, to tap into what your energy is. And then for me, like I try and treat Josh, I talk about how he's my king, how I want to teach, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're my king. And we build each other up like that. He's an actor, he's working on new roles. So I'm looking for all the ways that I can support him so he can feel his best amid all the crazy shit that's happening in the world right now.
You know what? Those are good points on how you can do that. Plus, I also learned something from you earlier when you said you were trying to be the perfect spokeswoman. I didn't realize that, or motivational person. Maybe I'm going to empower my wife because I didn't realize that when women have shoulder pads, they think that they have made it. So I'm going to buy her some shoulder pads tomorrow.
That was my idiot idea. Your woman may not feel that, but I will tell you, when a woman feels seen, when she feels safe, when she feels understood, man, forget about it.
So seen is, I acknowledge the work that you're doing. I acknowledge what you're putting in. I acknowledge, of course, I acknowledge it. And you know, guys, I acknowledge that you changed your hair. Oh yeah, you're bald. I appreciate it. But I don't even know that stuff. I acknowledge some stuff. So seen, heard is, you shared your opinion with me, or you shared your belief, and I'm considering how I can make this happen, or I'm considering how I feel about it to respond.
No.
Okay.
So let me correct that. Here's another take on it. Ready? Validating her perspective, mirroring back, empathizing with what she said and how that makes her feel without trying to fix it.
So, okay, so if my wife says, you are not going out tonight, and I go, absolutely, honey.
I'm not talking about that. Okay.
But I used to do that. My ex-wife, maybe that's why she's my ex. She used to be like, you're not going out tonight. I used to be like, you're right, honey. I'm not going anywhere. Boom, and I leave. I agreed with her. Yes. I heard her.
Yes. No, now we're getting into territory where we may not be able to unpack all this in like 8 minutes, but let's say she's just expressing some frustration about something she's experiencing, something she went through with her day, something that's happening in the house, something she's feeling or going through. And Daymond, you're like, gosh, I hear that. I hear how frustrated you are. And I can see what that makes you, where that brings you in your heart and how difficult that must be to manage. You make sense to me. That little phrase, you make sense to me. You don't have to agree, but when you validate who she is, how she's feeling, and what she's experiencing without necessarily trying to fix it or get into a fight, all of a sudden something relaxes in us and we're like, oh, wow, he does see us. He does get us. And then all of a sudden we're open to wanting to collaborate.
But what if we don't get it? Because, both men and women speak differently.
Yes.
And sometimes I will be on my daughter or my wife, and they'll be driving down the street and they'll be on the phone and they're telling me how upset they were about something they were going to. But it wasn't necessarily about what happened there. It was because she happened to have that time of the month at the moment, and she was wearing a size 12 instead of a size 11. And I'm like, but that got nothing to do with what happened at the end.
Yes. Don't worry about that. Just validate her. Say, I know how. This is where real love comes in. Because real love, we don't need to be right in real love. In real love, you're just holding space for another human being to have their experience of life, and you're loving them right through it.
Got it. I'm going to say from now on, I understand how it feels because at that time of the month, you're a little bit heavier. Baby, I've been bloated for 5 years. I get it.
Yeah, and say, you know what? I think you're beautiful no matter what. In fact, I love you when you're bloated like this. You might even be more beautiful right now if you can handle that.
They say the woman you can tell them a million times that they look great, but they'll only remember the one time that you said they gained weight.
Yeah, that should, just like I will tell you this, sometimes people like either on Instagram or wherever, they're like, Marie, you looking tired today. I'm like, That's probably one of the things you should make on your list of never to say
Never
to
say
another
no woman.
human. No,
I
don't
know,
say, man, you know what?
I
You
get
just look
that.
tired.
All right, but the most important thing I think that you said, and as a father of 3 girls and a really great ex-wife and my wife and my mother, is make them feel safe.
Yes.
I think that is probably the most important thing that I have probably ever heard about a woman. Just make them feel safe, no matter what the circumstances are. Because I have been in the past, I've been the kind of guy to go, well, you know, this relationship ain't for us, you know, and I'm not even talking about threatening them in other ways, so I would never do that.
Yes.
Make them feel safe is probably that. Because, you know, I think men, you know, and I didn't know we were going to get into the men are from Venus and women from Mars crap.
We just go where it goes.
Yeah, I think men, we love a dare, we love a challenge, we love to arm wrestle, whatever the case is, right? You know, all right, come on, I dare you. And women don't speak like that, and they don't need to dare, because a guy will sit there and say, well, you can't beat me, you can't beat me. And most of the time with men and women situations, a man could probably be more stronger. So the word of intimidation is nothing to a woman. Listen, I don't care who's strong. We're talking about mentally or emotionally. I never thought about that. Make them feel safe emotionally, safe sexually, safe physically, safe in their being. You know what I mean?
Yes. So here's the thing. So again, we're talking about, these are generalizations. There's all kinds of rule breakers out there. It's all good. But generally speaking, like when women feel safe with their man, we're talking about, you know, a heterosexual relationship in this particular instance, women open up like a flower. They get soft. When they feel safe with their man, and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, that beautiful energy comes through. It's allowed to come through. And what happens for many women, especially now in kind of where we're at, so many of us, and I raise my hand to this, you know, I grew up where it was like, in certain ways, I had to be both, right? I had to be that feminine woman, but I also had to take care of business. Yep. And for me, when I don't feel safe, I become a hard ass. And that's where the love connection for Josh and I, it ain't going to happen. Because guess what? He doesn't want to be with a masculine woman. He doesn't. That's right. not, you know, and you've probably experienced this in your relationships. If your woman doesn't feel safe, she gets tight, she hardens up, and then it's on. Yep. And you don't feel her heart anymore.
And I think on the flip side, men want to feel a different type of safety. Yeah. You know, if you look at the basics of animals, whatever the case is, the female always wants to feel like whatever she has and is going to give birth to, that you can provide and make her feel safe. Yes. On the flip side, men always feel, or not always feel, they need to feel safe that even if I lost it all because I'm gambling on us, baby, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to, if I got to live in a refrigerator box for you and for you to be safe, I'm going to do this, but don't leave me because I lost those things or I can't get up today. Maybe I got up 7 times, the 8th time I fell and I busted my chin, and I'm going to get up the 9th and 10th, but while I'm down for that 8th, make me feel like you're here for me. Because people and a lot of people ask about wealthy men and wealthy women, and they go, what do they really want? They just want somebody to really be with them for them. The moles, the hairy moles and everything, and make them feel safe as well. So I think the women can learn from that too, because the minute your wife starts looking at someplace else or saying, oh, they got a bigger house, or oh, or you know, they went on a trip here, and you may not be able to do those things, you don't feel safe as well as a man.
100%. I mean, for me, you know, one of the things, Josh and I have been together for 17 years, right? And it has not been rainbows and unicorns. We have had so many hard times. We've butted heads all over the place. But, you know, after 17 years, you learn a lot about it, and we work at it. And so for me, in terms of that with him, you know, our careers fluctuate, and sometimes I'm the one making all the money. You know what I mean? Like, it goes back and forth like that, and we all have ups and downs. And for me, what I've tried to practice is letting him know that I love him as a soul, and I love him no matter what, and that who he is as a human being is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and he can show up in all the different ways that he's going to show up, and I'm going to be there to witness him. I'm going to be there to support him, and I'm going to be there to love him through whatever comes up, whatever happens.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm glad that we had this talk, and thank you for being flexible Hey, thank you for being flexible, moving the time around. But I want to get to one thing because I want people to know where to find you at all times, because you have so many multiple platforms, from Marie TV to podcasts to best-selling books and blogs and more.
Yes.
So I wrote it down. So for people getting started, how can they identify what content channel to focus on for themselves, as well as to focus on to find you? I mean, I guess to them, it's the best way they digest information.
Yeah.
But you've expanded over all those after doing it 20 years. What do you
Yeah.
think, first of all, is the best place that they should start for themselves? And second of all, where they should find you? And it may be the same answer, maybe where they take in information the most.
Absolutely. So if you're someone who's obviously an auditory learner, go download your favorite podcast. We have the Marie Forleo podcast. Our theme is always helping people create a business and life you love. On YouTube at Marie Forleo, we've got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes. We've got you on our show. We've got so many incredible experts and just me answering questions. On Instagram, it's usually a lot of fun. There's some dancing and some inspiration. And then also marieforleo.com. So, we've got tons and tons of free resources to help people learn what they need to learn, to develop that everything is figureoutable mindset, and to get the tools they need to lift themselves up and to make the difference in the world they were born to make.
Well, I hope they enjoyed how you and I can move and sway through conversations. There's no structure to it, no shoulder pads.
No, that's it, baby.
We're just doing what we got to do. All right. Well, I love you, and I hope that you're safe. And yes, and I'm following you by far. I'm one of your biggest fans, and thank you so much for what you do.
Sending you so much love, Daymond, and thanks everyone for watching. Love you guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.